I can honestly say that Helen is one of my best friends. Helen has been like a therapist. She knows everything about me, but it wasn't always like that.
I think it just became a thing where it was a lot more convenient for just the music industry in general, for all of the women to be like on their toes. I know what it's like to not have major label support. You know, sometimes seeing it from your colleagues feels so uplifting, and it just also makes you feel like we're in this together.
Hey, what up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Chiquis and Chill. I'm your lovely host, Chiquis, and today we have one of my coolest friends on the pod. We're going to be talking about friendship, which actually didn't start out as a friendship, just FYI, so stay tuned for that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about our music careers and the industry. So let's get right into it. This is Chiquis and Chill. Okay, so as promised, I have one of my beautiful best friends here with me today. Her name is Helen Ochoa, or Helen Ochoa Santos. She's a regional Mexican singer, songwriter, and we actually collaborated on a song a couple years ago called Las Destrampadas. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it now. What up, amiga? What's up, friend? I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I think this podcast is freaking awesome. I love listening to you. I love the conversations. This is exactly what we need to just let out, you know, what we have in our heart, what we have in our mind. We never know who we might impact in a positive way. So kudos, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And you guys, we've been friends for 3 years now, right, friend?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we should start there.
Yes.
So I can honestly say that Helen is one of my best friends. I have very few friends, you guys. So for me, it's like Helen has been like a therapist. She knows everything about me. She's given me great advice, but it wasn't always like that, like I said. So I think we should talk about that, friend. Was it the media that started pedo between us, or?
I think the very first time we had this conversation, it flowed perfectly. I think because we were just honest at heart. I don't think we ever necessarily had a personal problem with each other. I think at some point we thought it was personal, because I know like we both kind of had mutual feelings, like, okay, like I'm nice to her, but I don't feel like it's clicking. Like, so I guess I'm just gonna stay on my side, and then you kind of stayed on your side. Like we kind of were like almost like unspoken enemies, it felt like. And then I didn't see you, I guess, like as a person that like, I no mames la odio, or, you know, I never hated you. I never like nothing of that sort. I think it just became a thing of, you know, we were on separate labels, but those labels, you know, technically had their
beef.
Yes, their own beef. And I think it kind of just arbitrarily,
we were wrapped into it.
Yeah, it became our beef too, you know. And I remember when we spoke about how like you were one color, I was another color, you know, and it was like, we kind of just stuck to our colors, stuck to our people, stuck to that bridge, and we never crossed each other's. And it was so crazy because I remember the very first time that we actually spoke to each other. It was during like ensayos of Premios de la Radio.
Yes.
And you were just absolutely sweet to me. I had performed during that premios, but I remember you hosted. And then after, I was maybe like a couple months after,
that's true.
We'd gone to a mutual friend's wedding, and I saw you there, and you were so sweet. You came and said hi. You were like, oh my God, I loved your outfit. It was super cool. You sounded amazing. Felicidades. I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like it was just so sweet. And I thought like, she's actually really nice. And I always thought like, ay, qué bonita. I remember I even told you, because I had seen you at it was the inauguration for your mama's, the reality show that she did.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like,
oh my
preciosa es esta mujer en persona. No manches. Like, she's so pretty. I like,
thank you, friend.
Te lo juro. I swear, you know, and I think it just, at some point, we got into this mode that we didn't really ask for, but we kind of had to like, not necessarily defend our people, but it was more like just, okay, well, I'm going to have a guard up because I'm on this side and she's on this side. And it was like that for a very long time.
For a long time. It was so uncomfortable because I'm not one to have issues with anybody. No me gustan los problemas, la neta. And now that I know you, you're the same way. You get
Yeah.
along with everyone. Everyone loves you. You know, you and your husband, JP, shout out to Japes, you know. But I think what it was like you said, you were blue, I was red. You know, it's like something we chose, but we didn't. So it was kind of like they have beef, so it's our beef.
Yeah.
And then not only that, it was they kept, I think, putting things, I think, more in your head about me, that I didn't like you, that I was trying to stop your career, that
Yeah.
I supposedly had this power of like not having certain networks interview you,
Yeah.
because if they interviewed you, then I was going to be upset and I was going to give them an interview, which is absolutely fucking false, you guys. I would never do that. I've heard things of like, oh, Chiquis pays radio stations so that they don't play my music.
They used to say the same thing about your mom. It's crazy.
Yeah. Why would I spend my money on that? Like, to stop someone's career? Absolutely not.
Exacto. And I think it just became a thing where it was a lot more convenient for just the music industry in general, you know, for all of the women to be like on their toes. And I think the point where your mom passed, you know, a lot of people came about with, you know, oh my God, you know, va a haber una próxima. You know, there's going to be this next one. And it's like, I think I understood fully, even when she was here, you know, present, there's no filling someone's shoes. You know, it's creating your own path with your own damn shoes. And I think at some point, you know, when time passed, we went our own paths, even beyond, you know, the people we were working with at the time. And I think both of us kind of, once we were in a good place, you know, maturity falls into place. Obviously, you see things a little bit different. No te rodea a veces la misma gente. And then you're just kind of like, okay, maybe I was wrong about her. You know, maybe things aren't like this. And I remember, I think it was in 2017. I sent you flowers to your birthday. And it's crazy because we have a mutual friend from Miami. And I had spoken to her a little bit about it. And she actually had told me, like, Chiquis is the sweetest person on the planet. Like, I've never heard her say anything about anybody. And it's crazy how much you girls are so much alike. I think at some point when I sent you flowers, I was like, okay, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. She can be like, what is this? What's the purpose of this? You know, and have her guard up with me, or just simply say, oh, that was really sweet. Like,
I posted them. I was so surprised.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, I had this intuition. I'm super intuitive. And it's so crazy because so are you. It's freaking nuts. But I thought, like, okay, if my intuition is correct, it's going to make her smile. But, you know, kind of time passed. I think like 2 years passed there, because it was, I think, around 2019 until I forgot what it is you posted. JP and I started laughing, and he's like, why don't you message her, see if she wants to grab some dinner? I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? Like, I can't just do that. Like, no, like, I'm not going to just, he's like, why not? You know, just do it. You never know. I was like, okay, here it goes. So here I am, like, hey. And then I kind of just left it alone. I'm like, okay, you know, hey, if you want to get together sometime, you know, let me know. And I think after like, it was like a couple hours, you're like, hey, yeah, let's do it. All right. I think no le pusimos fecha. We didn't actually meet. I think it was till like a couple weeks. It might have even been almost like a month later.
Like a month,
yeah.
I think it was.
But it's so crazy. I'm the kind of person, I always know when I meet someone, the place they're going to have in my life. I always know by the way they say hello. It's so crazy, but
That's crazy.
I always know by the first hello. The eye contact, the facial expression, the aura, the overall vibe of that person. I can tell immediately. And I remember I walked into the restaurant. I was like, okay, here it goes. I did a prayer in the car with JP. Literally.
I freaking love you.
I swear, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to walk in there and everything's going to flow, or if like it's going to become a pelea. I honestly did not know what was going to happen. And I remember I walked in, I looked for you, and you're like, Helen, I'm over here. You were waving and super cheesy. I swear, I swear I relaxed, and I was like, okay, this is you, God. It's fine. It's going to be fine. And I remember I actually had to take a trip back home. I was like, okay, I have maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then we have to get going. And you had a meeting right after. It was like a kind of like a late lunch that we took. We ended up being there for like 5 hours talking. And I remember the
Talking
time,
about
everything.
everything.
The time went by so fast that I didn't even realize, holy mother, we've been here for 5 fucking hours.
It was a great conversation. Going back to the whole thing in, people or women, should I say, in the industry, you guys, it's unfortunate. I think that Helen and I, for me, I'm all about women empowerment, as you guys know, on my social media and everything. But I don't just talk about it. Like I do it, with La Destrampadas. You guys, that was the first time in regional Mexican music, and it still hasn't been done again, where 3 women collab on one song. That's done in Urbano. We see the Becky G's, Carol G's, Anitas of that world collaborating, but it doesn't happen in our music, in regional Mexican music. Why? Because hay mucho celo, and that's the problem, where I was like, no, we have to. And I've tried to get along with all the women in the industry. I really have. That song, Las Estrampadas, you guys, was supposed to be with 2 other girls, Victoria La Mala, and then another one that I'm just not going to mention because it's not worth it. But Victoria, it kind of happened the same thing. People started beef, whatever. Her and I talked. We hashed it out. We're cool as fuck. I love Victoria La Mala. And no se hizo la canción, pero se hizo with Helen and Ellie because I felt that's how, God's timing is perfect.
Absolutely.
But there's just this jealousy amongst women in our industry that there's only one spot for a woman. That's it. And it's like, why should it be that way? There is so much talent that I'm like, the way I'm going to show that is by using my social media, posting other women's music, because I have my own thing. They have theirs. Cada quien brilla con su propia luz. And I think that that's what sets us apart, because Helen is the same way. I see you posting. I see you get along with so many. I think there's just one that you don't get along with, but that's not your fault. That's her shit, you know? But Helen's the same way. Like, Helen no es celosa. Helen celebrates. And that's what we need more of, celebrating women and lifting each other. As, cliche as it sounds, united, we stand stronger, but it's true, and this is what we have to do and support women. I hate seeing where women are tearing each other down, especially on social media. And it's just, I'm not cool with that. I'm not down with that. So Helen, talk to us a little bit about that, because you do show on your social media that you're not just about women empowerment. Like, you really do uplift other women in this industry. And I love that about you.
Thank you so much. And, I think it's tough because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be alone in the industry and not have, a major label support. Right now it's literally just JP and I. We hired a friend of mine, to help us out when I do events or, when I do other things. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a little small business.
Yeah.
I have a small
Life of Bling, guys.
The life of Bling, and we kind of took baby steps in this entire thing, but I know what it's like to not have that support. Sometimes seeing it from your colleagues feels just like so uplifting, motivating, and it just also kind of makes you feel like we're in this together. We have the same struggles. We have the same battles. We know, that unfortunately spots for women in the industry are very scarce, such as we have no control over that. Even if we put out good songs, even if we do a badass video and, we're doing promo tours and things like that, sometimes empresarios still will have a cartelera with 10 men that are going to show face at this show, and there's 1 woman on the roster, at most 2. 2 is already a big thing. 3, absolutely unheard of.
Okay, so, but why do you think that is, though?
I think there's a misconception about us that absolutely is old school, and yet a lot of people still have it. I think they think that we're doing music almost like part-time, like we're doing music, but
as a hobby.
Exactly. We're doing it as a hobby. We're not willing to work. We're not willing to travel. We're
too expensive.
Exactly. Or we're married to somebody that's too jealous and is not going to let us, travel and do the most. Maybe it was that way in a lot of cases, not all of them, but in a lot of cases back in the day, back in the 90s and things like that. But we're talking about a time where, now like people are blowing up on social media, women, Yaritza, Yanitza went viral on TikTok. I've spoken a lot about this little girl because I absolutely love her story. I have not seen that little girl once complain. I've never seen that
She's
little
dope.
girl. Absolutely. And she's dope as hell. It's a competition, más bien, I feel, with the men. They're honestly
Mm-hmm.
our biggest competition. They're the ones
Mm-hmm.
in the popularity list for radios. They're the ones that, have, a lot more playlists sometimes. I'm not saying that that's the case all the time, but, sometimes I see it a lot more on that side than this
Uh-huh.
side. Estoy viendo
Mm-hmm.
más plataformas abrir playlists de puras mujeres, or, they're putting a lot
Yeah,
more women in the cover arts and things like
exactly.
that.
It's happening. It's slowly but surely happening. I think it's just patience. And otra cosa that I personally feel es que hay muchas mujeres, which I think is great, that have high and important positions that I don't know why I feel like we don't get as much support from them. It's crazy. I'm like, you're a woman. You know what it is to be a woman and how difficult it must have been for you in the corporate world to get to that position. O sea, no echaron la mano. I mean, if you don't like our music, cool. But it's just kind of like, I know a few, and I'm obviously not going to name them, but it's just like, en vez de ayudarnos, como que they make it a little bit more difficult. Es la neta.
The power's in their hands, to make you a priority on a playlist, to even put you on the playlist to begin with. This is definitely a conversation that should be had, by everybody in the industry. Because at the end of the day, I think something that your mom did marvelously was just, okay, you're not gonna give me a path. I'm gonna show you. Oh, I'm gonna
I'm
create
going to
my
make
path.
my own.
I'm gonna make my
Mm-hmm.
path, and then I'm gonna make
Yeah.
sure you hear what I have to say. And I think that's something that I always admired about her. And I feel like I almost think, do we have to have like más huevotes que ellos? Like, is that how it has to be? Like, what's the deal here? Like, do we have to be
Mm-hmm.
bitches? Come on, like, what
That's what my mom would always say. She's like, I wasn't always a bitch. The industry made me a bitch because I had to defend myself.
I remember we had that conversation, and it's something that I feel like, damn, I still can't pinpoint it, exactly, but I can definitely say that, the public has, the power to help us in that, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, aspect of, okay, I don't see this song on this playlist. Hey, I want Helen's song in here. Hey, you guys should put Chiqui's song in here, especially if we're consistent. We keep putting out music, and it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money. This
It's
takes
expensive.
so much money. It's insanity, and
Yeah.
so much effort, so much of your time. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
put some creativity behind something, and I can honestly say sometimes it can actually be discouraging, when
Oh, for
when
sure.
yeah, you put something out and then you're like, damn, I didn't make any playlists, or I made only one, or damn, I'm not getting enough views. Let me try to push this a little bit more. But I think es parte de también la gente, la gente también en ese aspecto, and if you
Sí.
if you have this like passion for a female artist, help her out, put it out there. The same thing that we do, ayúdale con una historia, un link, things like
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's es un granito de arena que
Que hace
marca
una
una
gran diferencia.
diferencia, yeah, enorme en lo que pasa. And I think one of the things that I also believe, and I've talked about this recently, is I actually just did promo with a friend who I also collaborated with. I specified how, women in the industry too, we have an obligation to have consistency. I do see some women that come out, they'll have a really good song, but they won't put a song out sometimes until another like 6, 7 months or even a year.
Yeah.
Things like that also kind of push back a little bit of what we're trying to like take steps forward with because of the consistency, and I know it's expensive. I
Right.
get it. It's a lot of work. It's tough to kind of keep up because now music is being consumed so fast that
Yeah.
I think we talked about this, right? Like how
Yeah.
a song used to last, a single used to last
3
3 months.
months, 6
Now
months. Uh-huh,
within a month, it's
sometimes.
like, okay, what else you got? What else? ¿Qué más? ¿Qué
Yeah.
anuncias? ¿Qué vendes? ¿Qué show? And it's like, dude, hold on, slow
Yeah.
down. I spent a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money on that freaking song, the mixing, the mastering, the cover art, the photo
Right.
shoot, todo, en todo se gasta. And cuando menos piensas, holy moly, where'd it go?
You should be proud of yourself, though, Helen. To my listeners who haven't heard my friend's music, please go listen to it on all the digital platforms. when you started singing, friend?
I was literally, I think, when I started singing, I think more like formally, I guess, like,
Uh-huh.
ya empezó como a moldearse un poquito mi voz. I was about 8 years old, the very first time that I like got the
Wow.
courage to like grab a mic. I remember it was at my sister's quinceañera, and you know, we're Mexican, and during that time, my parents' budget was very small, so they're like, okay, we want to get married, but it's also Francisca, my sister, her quinceañera, and Helen needs to do her first communion. We had the biggest, fattest party with my parents married,
Love it.
my sister's quinceañera, and my first communion. I at the moment I
Aww.
was little. I thought it was a great idea. Now that I'm older, I'm like, you guys are mean. She should have had her own moment, you know, and you guys should have had
Latino
your,
stuff.
yeah. But I'm like, okay, well, you know, I guess it was done that way because my parents, you know, they had to save money. It was the only
Yeah.
way to do it back in the day. But basically, they had a banda there. I asked my dad if I could sing with the banda. He said no. He's like, go play with your cousins. Forget about it. But I was like eager. I was determined. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to give up. So I went straight to the banda and I grabbed the mic and I tell the director, I'm like, I want to sing. And he looked at me the same way, like, oh, you're cute. I'm like, no. I'm serious, fucker. I want to sing. I'm the fucker. But you know what I mean? Like, I want to sing. And he's like, okay, yeah. So I sang my very first song at that family party. And I think
Wow.
it was the first time my dad was like, okay, like, all right.
There's something here.
Yeah.
See, guys, the number one thing, she was persistent. Okay. Very important as we listen to her story. Persistence. Okay. Go on, friend.
So basically, he bought me a karaoke machine. He bought me a bunch of CDs of Paquita La del Barrio, Selena. Obviously, I think every little girl wanted to be Selena. We all wanted that purple suit. I actually got the freaking purple suit made at some point. Like I actually have that motherfucker somewhere in the closet. I swear, it's in there somewhere. And it wasn't until I was about 16. I actually auditioned for American Idol. I made it to like the top 30 in American Idol, and then I got cut right before they picked, I think it was like 15 people to actually go on TV and like compete and stuff. It was the most heartbreaking thing ever. I had no clue. You know, I was super green during that time, but I went to a music teacher, a vocal coach, and he actually was the first one that told me, you have a great voice, but you're singing the wrong way. You're doing it wrong. Like, we need to teach you how to sing where you're not going to hurt yourself, you know, and you're not going to, at the end of the day, te vas a quedar sin voz. Like, let's go ahead and help you. These are the techniques so that, you know, you can start molding your voice the way you're saying that, you know, you want to do it. He taught me this method of the Tarzan.
Oh, you taught me that one. She sent it to me in a voice note once, guys. Yeah.
The Tarzan. I'm like,
yeah.
The Tarzan is key for the vibratos, you know, and that's the technique that kind of helped mold a little bit of that style, I guess, de Selena that I always wanted to have. I always wanted to do those little R&B riffs. And, you know, once I started to actually understand my voice, I was like, okay, now I'm comfortable. But then I went to my very first reality shows in 2006. I competed for a recording contract. It was an amazing experience. But that's the first time I think that I understood that I was singing really awesome, but I had no heart in what I was singing. And I remember sí, o sea, el maestro de expresión corporal e interpretación, he, you know, would write the songs out and he'd tell me, okay, let's read the songs. We're not going to sing them. We're going to read every line and we're going to understand what this song means and the way it's supposed to be sung. And I think it wasn't until then that I realized, holy moly, I'm not singing from the heart. This is just, you know, songs to me. Like, they're not stories. And I think once I understood, you know, that part, you know, it kind of became second nature to me. We talked about this recently, friend. You know, you have a really cool song that I absolutely love. Honestly, it's my all-time favorite song. I think you've recorded. I love this song. It's la de Aprovechame. I love that song. I love the lyrics. I love all of it. The whole little beat, the whole melody of that song.
The lyrics,
it's a vibe. Mm-hmm. The whole thing is just a vibe. I go,
Thank you, friend.
Yeah, and me enamoré de esa canción, and I go, this is what it's about.
Are you writing, like, right now, songs? Like, what's in the pipeline right now?
I am, and I think it's definitely something I'm losing fear on, and I'm trying to give myself the opportunity to write a little more on this one.
I'm excited. Do you have the name of it already?
not just yet, but I'm thinking. Okay, you actually gave me a really good idea, which is Mrs. Santos. You had given me that
Oh,
idea,
that's
and I
right.
think, see, and I think it might be Mrs. Santos, or I
Okay.
might wait to do a Mrs. Santos that is a little more like Lovelace, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yeah, it has to kind of go with what songs are on. You're going to know. You're going to feel it in your heart. You guys, let me tell you. Not only is my friend an amazing singer, she's a wife, but her husband lets her allows her to be herself, especially on stage. I need to go see you on stage like soon, friend. She's a dog mom and she's a blinger, okay? So before we go, I really need you to share, friend, your Instagram handles, and also she's blinged out my mic, you guys.
Yes.
I have a hat that I just wore for my LA show. She blinged out my hat. I have like a couple cups from her, a few actually.
Yes.
So we have Life of Bling. So if you want to, share your social media, friend, all of them, please do so.
Oh, my friend, thank you so much. You guys, at Helen_Ochoa, that's how I am on Instagram, at Life of Bling. But the life is with the Y. It's spelled with the Y. I know, I'm weird. We had it with
I
the
like
Y.
it though. You guys, she's amazing. Make sure you follow her, listen to her music. Es un corazón con patas, mi amiga, la neta. Before I let you go, as you know, I always leave you with the motivational quote. So I thought this one was fitting. The quote is, "A true friend accepts who you are, but also helps you become who you should be." Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, you learned a little something and enjoyed this podcast. Como siempre, los quiero mucho y nos vemos en la próxima aquí en Chiquis and Chill. Besitos a todos. Do you need advice on love, relationships, health, y más? I'm so excited to share with you that my Chiquis and Chill podcast will have an extra episode drop each week. I'll be answering all your questions. Just leave me a voice message con todas tus preguntas y yo te las voy a contestar personalmente. All you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/Chiquis and Chill podcast and record your questions. I can't wait to hear from you. This is a production of iHeartRadio and the My Cultura Podcast Network. Follow us on Instagram at My Cultura Podcast and follow me, Chiquis, that's CHIQUIS. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.